We've all been there, that moment of blissful ignorance right before you realize you're the star of someone else's show. Maybe it's a bad hair day, caught on a security camera, or a private conversation, suddenly public thanks to a smartphone. We laugh, we cringe, we learn to double-check for blinking lights, but sometimes, the stakes are higher. The laughter fades, replaced by the cold sweat of "oh no, they didn't." This isn't about a wardrobe malfunction, it's about the moments that change everything. Buckle up because today's story is a wild ride through the world of unintended fame and the fallout of going viral. Gary was a simple man. He loved his dog, his slippers, and most importantly, karaoke. His dog, a loyal companion, would often sit by his side as he practiced his singing, wagging its tail in rhythm to the off-key notes. Gary's slippers, worn and comfortable, were his favorite footwear, and he believed they brought him good luck during his performances. Karaoke, however, was his true passion. It was his escape from the mundane routines of daily life, a chance to be a star, even if only in his own mind. Now, Gary wasn't good at karaoke, not by any stretch of the imagination. His voice would often crack and he had a tendency to miss the beat, but that never stopped him. He would sing with such conviction and emotion that it was hard not to be entertained. His friends and family had long given up on trying to correct his pitch or timing. They knew that for Gary, karaoke was not about perfection, it was about the joy of singing. But what he lacked in talent, he made up for in enthusiasm. Gary's performances were always full of energy. He would dance around, use dramatic hand gestures, and put his heart and soul into every song. His enthusiasm was infectious, and even though his singing was far from perfect, it was impossible not to smile when watching him perform. He had a way of making everyone around him feel the music, even if it was just for a moment. Every Tuesday night, Gary would transform his bathroom into a concert hall. He would set up his phone to play the karaoke tracks, adjust the lighting to create the perfect ambiance, and even use a small speaker to amplify his voice. The bathroom, with its tiled walls and echoing acoustics, became his stage. It was his sanctuary, a place where he could let loose and be himself without any judgment. The acoustics were perfect, he claimed. The echo of the tiles made his voice sound fuller, more powerful. He believed that the bathroom was the best place to sing, and he would often spend hours perfecting his performances. He would experiment with different songs, trying to find the ones that sounded best in his makeshift concert hall. It was his own little world, and he loved every minute of it. The shower stall, his personal recording booth. Gary would close the shower curtain, creating a small enclosed space that he believed enhanced the sound even more. He would use the shower head as a makeshift microphone stand, and sometimes even pretend it was a real microphone. It was all part of the experience, and it made his performances feel more authentic. Armed with a hairbrush microphone and a heart full of passion, Gary would belt out the classics, blissfully unaware of the world outside his bathroom walls. He would sing everything from old rock ballads to the latest pop hits, always with the same level of enthusiasm. His dog would often join in, barking along to the music, creating a unique duet that only they could appreciate. It was their special time together and nothing could interrupt it. Little did he know, his private concert was about to go platinum. Unbeknownst to Gary, his performances were not as private as he thought. The walls of his apartment were thin, and his singing could be heard by his neighbors. Most of them found it amusing, but one neighbor in particular found it fascinating. His downstairs neighbor, a tech-savvy college student named Sarah, had been hearing Gary's music for weeks. At first, she was annoyed by the noise, but over time she grew curious. She started to recognize the songs and even found herself humming along. She wondered who this mysterious singer was and why he chose to perform in his bathroom. Intrigued and slightly horrified, she decided to investigate. She wanted to know more about the person behind the voice. Was he a professional singer practicing for a big performance, or just someone who loved to sing for fun? She had to find out. Armed with her trusty smartphone, she embarked on a mission to capture Gary's shower stall symphony. She carefully positioned herself near the bathroom window, trying to get a clear shot without being noticed. As she recorded, she couldn't help but smile at Gary's enthusiasm. He was completely lost in the music, singing his heart out with no idea that he had an audience. Little did he know, his love for karaoke was about to be shared with the world. Sarah set up her phone strategically, making sure it was perfectly positioned to capture the audio from the bathroom above. She had discovered that her upstairs neighbor, Gary, had a penchant for singing in the shower. And not just any singing. Gary's performances were something else entirely. Aiming for the perfect angle, she adjusted the phone meticulously. She knew that the right placement would ensure she captured every note, every off-key warble, and every dramatic pause. She didn't have to wait long. As if on cue, the water started running, and soon after, the unmistakable sound of Gary's voice filled the air. Right on cue, the dulcet tones of Gary's off-key rendition of Bohemian Rhapsody pierced through her ceiling. His voice, though far from perfect, had a certain charm that was impossible to ignore. Sarah hit record, stifling her laughter. She couldn't believe her luck. Gary's shower concerts were the highlight of her day. Over the next few weeks, Sarah's phone became a repository of Gary's greatest, and by greatest we mean most hilariously awful hits. Each recording was a gem, capturing the essence of Gary's uninhibited performances. There he was, belting out Celine Dion with all the passion of a seasoned performer, attempting opera with a dramatic flair that was both impressive and comical, even rapping along to Eminem, which was terrifying truly. Gary's enthusiasm knew no bounds, and each genre he tackled was more entertaining than the last. Each performance was more outrageous than the last. Gary's bathroom had become his stage, and he was the star of his own one-man show. The videos were comedic gold, pure, unfiltered entertainment. Sarah found herself eagerly anticipating Gary's next performance, wondering what song he would tackle next. Sarah couldn't keep them to herself. She started showing the videos to a few friends who were equally amused by Gary's antics. She showed a few friends, then a few more. Word spread quickly, and soon everyone wanted to see the latest installment of Gary's bathroom ballads. Soon, the demand for Gary's bathroom ballads became insatiable. People couldn't get enough of his unintentional comedy and raw, unfiltered performances. It was time for the world to meet shower stall superstar Gary. Sarah knew that Gary's unique talent deserved a wider audience, and she was ready to share his gift with the world. Sarah, a child of the internet, knew exactly what to do. She created a social media account dedicated solely to Gary's bathroom performances. She called it Karaoke, a stroke of genius that would forever alter Gary's life. The first video, Gary's infamous Bohemian Rhapsody cover. The internet exploded. Within hours, Karaoke had thousands of views, then tens of thousands, then millions. Gary, the man who thought his shower stall was his stage, was now a global phenomenon. Memes were created, fan clubs were formed, and Gary's off-key warbling became the soundtrack to countless internet challenges. He was everywhere. On news websites, morning talk shows, even parodied on late-night comedy sketches. Gary, the unsuspecting karaoke king, had gone viral, and he had absolutely no idea. One Tuesday evening, Gary, fresh from his latest bathroom concert, decided to treat himself to takeout. Singing in the shower had always been his escape, a private concert where he could belt out his favorite tunes without a care in the world. The bathroom acoustics made him feel like a rock star, even if his audience was just the shampoo bottles and the foggy mirror. Little did he know, his life was about to change in ways he could never have imagined. He went downstairs to grab his usual pizza, unaware of the pandemonium that awaited him. The aroma of pepperoni and melted cheese filled the air, a comforting scent that promised a relaxing evening. Gary hummed a tune as he descended the stairs, his mind still replaying the chorus of the song he had just performed. He had no idea that his impromptu concerts had gained an audience far beyond his bathroom walls. He opened his door to a mob of reporters, microphones thrust in his face, cameras flashing. The sudden burst of light and noise was overwhelming, a stark contrast to the quiet solitude of his home. Gary blinked, trying to make sense of the chaotic scene. The reporters were shouting his name, their voices blending into a cacophony that made it hard to understand any single question. "Gary! Gary! How does it feel to be an internet sensation?" one reporter yelled, her voice cutting through the din. Gary's mind raced. Internet sensation? What were they talking about? He hadn't posted anything online, at least not intentionally. His confusion only deepened as more questions were hurled his way. "Gary, is it true you're releasing an album?" another reporter asked, his eyes gleaming with curiosity. An album? Gary had never even considered such a thing. His singing was a private joy, not something he had ever thought to share with the world. The idea of releasing an album seemed absurd, yet the reporters were treating it as a given. "Gary, tell us, what's your favorite song to sing in the shower?" a third reporter inquired, her microphone almost touching his lips. Gary's favorite song? His mind went blank. He had so many favorites, but in this moment of sheer panic he couldn't think of a single one. The questions kept coming, each one more bewildering than the last. Gary, still in his bathrobe and slippers, stared blankly at the chaotic scene before him. He felt exposed, vulnerable, like a deer caught in the headlights. The comfort of his home, his sanctuary, had been invaded by this unexpected and unwelcome intrusion. He had no idea how to respond, his mind a whirlwind of confusion and fear. His heart pounded in his chest, his mind struggling to process the surreal situation. The reporters' faces blurred together, their voices merging into an indistinguishable roar. Gary felt a wave of anxiety wash over him, his breath coming in short, shallow gasps. He needed to get away, to find a moment of peace to collect his thoughts. He had no idea what was happening. How had his private moments become public spectacle? Who had filmed him, and why? The questions swirled in his mind, each one more perplexing than the last. He felt a growing sense of dread, a fear of the unknown that gnawed at his insides. He stammered, confused and scared, retreating back into his apartment, slamming the door shut against the cacophony outside. The sound of the door closing was a brief respite, a momentary barrier between him and the chaos. But even inside he could still hear the muffled voices of the reporters, their questions echoing in his mind. He was trapped, a prisoner in his own home, his life turned upside down by a secret he didn't know he was keeping. The walls of his apartment, once a source of comfort, now felt like a cage. Gary sank to the floor, his back against the door, trying to make sense of the madness that had descended upon him. How had his private joy become a public spectacle? And more importantly, what was he going to do now?